Dinner is served. Hey guys, welcome back to At the Table. Sydney here, and a big Happy New Year to you. We are going to be making a little recipe today called black-eyed pea chili, just in case your new year has not been off to a great start yet. Maybe you're out of luck. You didn't eat your black-eyed peas and your pork, and you're missing a little bit of luck this year. But it's not too late. It's still early in the year. We've still got a whole lot of time to get that luck back. And we can start it off by having a nice, really yummy meal that you should have had on New Year's Day. We'll just have a little late. That's okay. This recipe is actually a recipe that my mom made for us. We went to visit her for New Year's. She lives all the way in Hickory, so other side of our state. But she made us this on, actually, it was New Year's Eve. And it is black-eyed peas. It's got some peppers in there, onion, and we are also using some smoked sausage. I'm gonna switch it up and add a little bit of spinach as well, because we always think about greens for New Year's, and it doesn't always have to be collard greens. I know that's kind of what we have around here more frequently, but spinach is another green that you could use to still get your money in for the new year as well. So we're gonna be making this in an Instant Pot today. Now, you could definitely make this in a crock pot if you want to do that. She made it on the stove. She's just a stove woman. That's kind of her thing, but you could do it on the stove top. You could do it in your crock pot or an electric pressure cooker if you don't have the time that it takes. We're using dried beans, and that is going to take several hours, of course, to cook those. If you don't want to spend a couple hours, because we've got a 30-minute show and you might need to use something a little bit quicker, you could use an Instant Pot electric pressure cooker. So what we're going to start with is cooking our sausage. So I'm going to start with turning on our pressure cooker, and this is just going to be on the saute setting. So you could do this all in one pot. Same thing for your stovetop. You could do it all in the same pot and just, heat it up to about medium-high heat. We're gonna add just a little bit of butter for some flavor. If you are kind of watching, I'm gonna do half butter now and add a little bit more with our second sausage. If you're trying to avoid butter, which absolutely butter is gonna be higher in saturated fat, so it's not necessarily the healthiest choice for us, you could just do olive oil. I have olive oil here. I'm gonna do a mix of the two because butter does have some really good flavor, and not all fat is necessarily bad for us, as well as eating it in moderation. So trying to not consume too much of that saturated fat. So sometimes you can actually just do a mix of the two. If you're somebody who, your family just really, you like butter. That's how my mom is. She loves butter. We grew up with a stick of butter and everything. She likes it for flavor. You could still add that butter, but just cut back, reduce it a little bit. So I'm just slicing this sausage. It's making it really difficult on myself. We're just gonna slice it into like half an inch to 1 inch slices. And you could chop this up further if you really want it to be in those little bitty bite-sized pieces like I always do, but I think for visuals, it looks really pretty in this recipe sliced. So because we have so much sausage, we're actually gonna cook this in batches. And I have a whole second link of sausage as well that we'll be using. So I'm gonna kind of let this heat up just a little bit. Our butter is starting to melt. Move it around just a little so it coats the bottom of our pan. I might just do that 2 tablespoons. So this was 2 tablespoons of of butter for our sausage, and I might just use some olive oil for the rest of it. So that's not quite hot yet, but we're gonna go ahead and throw it in anyways, because I've got a whole nother one to chop up. Now this is smoked sausage, so it will have some really good smoked sausage flavor. I was talking with our production team before we got started on kind of what we had for our New Year's meal, and Jason and I both actually made a black-eyed pea recipe with ground sausage. So really, when you're thinking about New Year's, they talk about having pork, your black-eyed peas, some greens, and then occasionally you'll have the yellow, like the corn or cornbread, something like that, that also resembles like gold. So mostly that whole, the whole tale of what you should have for New Year's is really related to luck and money. So can't go wrong with either of those, of course. But you could, of course, implement small parts of it. So you could have your black-eyed peas, which are supposed to be for luck. Your pork is also supposed to be for luck. And then you could either do your corn or you could do the greens for that money resemblance. Our sausage is cooking up really good now. You can hear that sizzle. So you want this to be at that medium-high heat. And we're just gonna brown this up a little bit. So we'll finish that. I'll go ahead and cut up our second sausage and we'll see you guys back in just a second.
Eastern North Carolina is a beautiful place where we gladly choose to call home. And we strive to provide the best communications services. STAR is committed to improving communications to all our service areas because we want to improve the communities where we not only work, but also live. STAR Communications. We are neighbors serving neighbors.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our STAR Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we have our sausage all cooked and done. Looks good. Might have snuck a piece during our little break and it tastes delicious. The next thing that we are going to be doing is cutting up our peppers. So we have 2 different kinds of peppers in this recipe. We have jalapenos and then we also have poblano peppers. I don't buy a lot of poblano peppers, but we tasted it a little bit when I chopped it up ahead of time, and it tastes very similar to a green bell pepper. It does have a very mild kick to me at the very end. I don't even know if I'd call it a kick because it's not much of a kick at all, but you do taste a little bit of that spice at the end versus a bell pepper, you have literally none. But, I think if you couldn't find poblanos, I bought all that they had at Food Lion today, and I was able to buy, I believe, 5 of them. We need 2 cups in this recipe, so I really think that the 5 will be needed for a total of 2 cups. So if you can't find enough poblanos, you could definitely just go with a green bell pepper. And also cost-wise, if you're finding that poblanos are a little bit more expensive versus the green bell peppers are very cheap, especially compared to the other colored peppers, then you could absolutely go that route as well. I would maybe only do 2 to 3 of those bell peppers versus this many poblanos. So just wanted to talk about that for a second. This is very similar to a bell pepper also in terms of how we cut it. So I typically cut off the top and then I go down the sides. This one's not as easy as it is to core. Doesn't come out as nice and clean as our bell pepper usually does, but still, pretty easy to cut and get that out. So we're gonna push those seeds to the side. And I like to use the top too if it is salvageable. And we're just gonna chop that up into it says to dice, so into those smaller pieces. So this helps to give us a little bit of, vegetables thrown into our recipe. One thing that I love to focus on when we talk about New Year's and all these resolutions, for one, mine is to drink more water. So you might see my water sitting next to me. But also just trying to add more fruits and vegetables into the diet rather than focusing on, low fat, low carb, or any of these specialty diets that are out there. Rather than focusing on all of that, I like to focus on just adding more fruits and vegetables to what I'm eating. So that way I'm getting more of those good nutrients in. I'm also going to be able to get full more quickly because our fruits and vegetables tend to have lots of fiber. So that can help you to not eat quite as much. I mean, it all kind of evens out, and all around it's more of a sustainable diet, if you will, to consume. So if you're struggling already this new year with kind of getting back on track, sticking to your resolution, if it is to eat healthier or whatever it might be, just maybe start there. Start with adding those fruits and vegetables in first. See how that does for you. And then if you want to focus on other things as well, you could do that. But fruits and vegetables tend to be the basis of a healthy diet, no matter what diet you go for that you're trying to do. It'll likely say that you can eat fruits and vegetables and that they are healthy for you. So, starting there is a great place if you're looking for losing weight or whatever it might be. I don't like to focus on losing weight. I like to focus on what we're getting in our diet and, the nutrients that we're getting versus really, I just want to lose 5 pounds, whatever it might be. Kind of need to get away from that anyways. All right, so got one of those chopped up. We're working on this second one. This one was much more seedy than that first one. We are also going to be using jalapenos in this. So not a lot of jalapenos. We're just going to be using one that's chopped up, and then we're going to do one as kind of our slices that we can put on top and make it look pretty. But we do have a little bit of that kick. I remember when we were eating this, I was thinking the whole time, this isn't hot at all. And then, halfway through, I'm like, oh my gosh, my mouth, it's starting to clear out my sinuses a little bit. So it's kind of that hidden heat. If you're not a fan of spicy or heat at all, it just does have crushed red pepper flakes in it. So I would leave those out, and then I would also maybe do the green bell peppers instead, and you could even cut back a little bit on the jalapeno. All right, last thing is our jalapeno. I like to wear gloves. As you guys can see, I've got my gloves on. When we're doing a jalapeno, I usually cut off the top, and then I like to slice it in the middle. And then you can actually just grab a spoon, and it's a lot easier if you just kind of scoop it out. Easy peasy, just like that. I want to take all the seeds out because I don't want it to be really spicy. All right, we'll push those to the side. I'll get this one chopped up the same way I did my poblano, and I'll see you guys back in just 1 second.
Honey, do we pay our bill?
What bill?
The Star Communications bill.
No worries, honey. With Star's paperless billing and automatic draft system, I get a notification sent right to my phone. There's no need to be bothered with those paper statements, and our bill is paid on time every month.
Well, that's easy and convenient.
It sure is, honey.
Honey?
Yes, dear.
The baby.
Oh, right.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
You forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we have our peppers all chopped up. I've got just about 2 cups, maybe not quite 2 cups, or a little less, but I also threw the jalapeno in this as well. So just helping you to gauge. It wouldn't be enough for 6 whole poblano peppers. So I would still stick to 5, and that should be plenty for you. So I've turned my Instant Pot back on to saute. I'm gonna let it heat up a little bit. And we are gonna add in our peppers, and then we also have an onion. So throw some oil in there, although we still have a little bit of butter left in the bottom. And then it's getting hot. I'm gonna go ahead, we'll do the peppers first. And then we need about a 1.5 cups of onion. I like to measure out my onion rather than just doing the whole thing because I hate chopping up onions. So for me, if I can save some onion, like this one will probably only use half the onion, then I can save this. You can freeze this. I was just talking to my admin here about that. She was making a recipe for a gathering. I believe it was around Christmas. And I told her I'd chop her stuff up for her because she had to go run an errand. And she was like, just, I don't need the whole thing. You can just do half of it. Throw the rest away. I said, well, I'll go ahead and cut the whole entire thing, and then that way I can freeze. You can always throw the excess in a freezer bag, and then you have it for later. So I love to pull straight from the freezer and throw into my pot. So you don't always have to keep it stored away in your fridge. It kind of smells up your fridge anyways when there's a cut onion in the refrigerator. So I love to just, I'll measure it, whatever I've got left, I'll throw into a freezer bag, use it for other recipes. Saves you time and energy later on when maybe you just don't have the time to chop up a bunch of stuff. So this is fresh garlic. I do love fresh garlic. I've been kind of lazy lately and buying the jarred kind, and just does not compare. Truly doesn't. The fresh tastes so much better, and I also feel like sometimes in the jarred, I get those little pieces of the end of your garlic. So when you're chopping a garlic, I typically will cut off that little end piece. And if there's any spots, this one kind of has a little bad spot, I'll just cut that off as well. But when it's in the jar, I feel like sometimes they leave that on, and I'll be cooking something. When I go to eat it later, I feel like I've crunched down into that and it grosses me out. So if you do it yourself, you don't have to worry about that. All right, so there's our onion, and then we're also gonna do a couple spices. So I'm gonna move this around just a little bit. The only downfall with an electric pressure cooker, if you are doing that saute feature, is I feel like it sticks. This is stainless steel. If you have any stainless steel pans, you might have run into that problem. A lot of people don't like stainless steel for that reason. I actually, for my wedding, we got, I think they're like a tri-clad, but they are more of that stainless steel metal pan. It's got some other features to it as well to make it the tri-clad, but it requires a lower heat. So that is why things will stick. If you stick to, low to medium, I don't have a problem with things sticking. Same thing here. The only issue is that I can't control how hot this gets. Once it starts sauteing, it can get very, very hot. And for mine, I don't have an option to do low heat, high heat when you're sauteing. So that is the only downfall here. You just have to be a little bit more mindful to continue to stir to make sure that things don't stick and begin to burn on that one side. So that is looking good, smelling good. We'll go ahead and add our spices in. So this is my garlic. Just gonna go straight from the cutting board. This also gives me the chance to show you a little trick. So if you have your cutting board that is moving around, sliding around while you're trying to chop, take a damp paper towel and put it underneath it. So put it, flatten it out, put it on the bottom, and that will actually keep your cutting board from sticking. All right, and then we're gonna throw in our spices. So we have a little bit of cumin. So this is, we're gonna do 1 tablespoon of cumin here. And then we also are gonna do a whole tablespoon of oregano. And then we are gonna add in, let's see, a little bit of pepper flakes. Now, I don't like to do a lot of these because they get really, really hot. It says half a teaspoon of pepper flakes. I don't even know if I'm gonna do a whole half. That's about half. So really almost like just a pinch of that. So we're gonna let this cook up and sweat for just a few minutes. And then we'll see you back. We'll throw everything in the pot and get going.
Let's get out of here.
Protect what matters most in your life with security from Star Communications.
Just because something may work doesn't mean it's right for your business. Let Star Communications' knowledgeable consultants help you customize a hosted voice system that's right for you. Our dedicated experts work with you to understand your business needs and guide you at every step, from choosing and installing services to ongoing maintenance and support. Contact Star today.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we have our peppers and onions cooked all together. Now we're gonna start adding everything to our pot. So we're gonna throw our sausage back in. And I've turned the saute feature off at this point, but it is still very hot. So you can kind of still hear it simmering. We're gonna add in our black-eyed peas. So I've rinsed these and sorted them. When they say sorted, you just basically wanna make sure that there's not any little pebbles or bad beans in there, because it can, you don't want pebbles in your food anyways. But in terms of rinsing, so we had this whole talk about rinsing versus do you have to rinse, and then also soaking, do you have to soak? So you actually, you don't necessarily have to soak your beans. I'm gonna add in 2 cups of water. That is totally optional. Now, soaking does help your beans to cook much faster, and then it does also helps to kind of pull out some of that flavor more slowly, versus if you don't soak them, it's not gonna cook as quickly. Now, in an Instant Pot, they're gonna cook so quick anyways that I didn't bother soaking. Your recipe, if you're doing it on the stovetop, it would be best if you do soak them overnight in some water, throw it in your fridge, and just, let them soak. I don't know why I'm measuring this. This whole thing's 4 cups. So we will just use the whole entire container, actually. We need 6 cups total of liquid. And a carton always has 4 cups, unless you get the really big one. So we'll stir that up a little bit, and we're gonna go ahead and throw our lid on. So when we do this, you wanna make sure you kind of get your lid locked in. Switch that, there it goes. And it'll give you a little signal that it's ready, and I'm gonna switch it to sealing. So the very top it says venting and sealing. You always want to make sure you're on the seal, so that way it will begin to build that pressure. We're going to press pressure cook, and then I'm going to set it for 30 minutes. And then once you get your time, it begins to build pressure. So when you're using an electric pressure cooker, you do need to take into account the amount of time that it will take to build, and then also the amount of time it might take to come down. So when we release the pressure for this, we're gonna let it naturally release, which means we're gonna keep it on sealing. We're gonna turn it off and just let it naturally release for 10 minutes. And then we will quick release, which means you're gonna take that toggle and move it to the venting side, and it will quickly release the steam. You'll see that any excess steam left over from the pot come out of that. Different recipes require different releases, so you just need to have a little bit of experience. We do have workshops here at the office. I'm hopefully going to do another one towards the end of the month. So if you are interested in learning more about electric pressure cooking and how to use one of these small appliances, definitely come to our class, because we'll kind of cover all of this information. And you'll get to do it yourself. We do it hands-on, so you get to practice. So that's it. We're just gonna let it do its thing for the next 30 minutes and let it go. What we have left, I've already chopped our jalapenos that will go on top of our chili if you choose. And then we also have a little bit of cilantro. So I'm just gonna pick a few pieces of this, and I'll chop it up to kind of set it aside. You could also just pick the leaves as they are and not even bother chopping it, because it does look really pretty that way as well. And then I mentioned that we're gonna add some spinach. Because spinach cooks so quickly, we will do that at the end. So once this is done cooking, we've had our release the way that I just described, I'll take the lid off, and then I'll throw my spinach in and stir it up. So as I was mentioning with the soaking your beans, now beans are a very, very healthy thing to eat. It actually fits into our vegetable section of our My Plate, and because they also have a good amount of protein, so they can go in your vegetable section, or they can go into your protein section. So we want to make sure that we are consuming beans as a healthy part of our diet. And this recipe just uses those black-eyed peas, which still can kind of fit into that bean or legume, because that's technically a legume, section of our My Plate. You don't necessarily always have to soak, I mentioned that, but we do always want to rinse. So rinsing and sorting is very important, because it helps to get rid of any dirt or dust, and then also remove anything from those dried beans that we might not want to be eating. So I'm just going to throw this in here. All right, looks good. Everything smells so delicious. We're gonna let this cook. We will show you guys a little bit later kind of what it looks like when it comes out as our outro shot. But I hope you guys have a good new year. I hope that this recipe will bring you a little bit of luck, and be well. We'll see you guys next time.